because I did not want to stand out anymore because I thought that standing out would cause pain. And so I became who everyone thought
Mm,
that I should be. And I lost myself. I had no idea who I was. I did not know what I liked to eat without somebody telling me. I did not know what I liked to wear without somebody telling me. It got to a point which I did not realize it got to this point until recently. It got to a point where I did not even trust my own thoughts, opinions, because my thoughts and opinions and the things that mattered to me in terms of those shoes became the very things that caused me pain. So in a sense, I also silenced my voice as well.
mm-hmm.
And so I lost my whole identity because of that moment. And I had to go back and rediscover who I was as a person from a ground up. I had to discover the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like. I had to learn what I.
You're listening to the First Class Life Show hosted by Lindsey Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the First Class Life Show, and I'm super excited about today's guest. You are going to meet the lovely Aisha Taylor, and she is here to share her phenomenal journey with us and the things that she's overcome. I know that you are definitely going to want to have your pen and paper ready. So, as you know, we're going to hop right into the conversation. Aisha! Welcome, welcome. Tell us, please, 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 tell us more about yourself, because I've had the opportunity to get to know you further over the past year or so, but definitely let the people know, who are you really? Give us the juicy goods.
So, hi, my name is Aisha Taylor, and I help single moms to grow their faith, walk in purpose, and own their finances. And I'm super excited about that because honestly, have you ever been called to something and you're just like, me? Really? Really? And it's so funny because I know I was a person who ran from my purpose. I was a person who ran from my calling. I was kind of like, okay, I think I want to do someone else, like, and not do something else, like straight Jonah style. But pretty much, really, the Lord brought me here, and it was a very interesting place because originally, and when I first started as an entrepreneur, I was working in corporate finance, making six figures a year, just like doing mergers and acquisitions, divestitures, licensing deals. I managed a $1 billion with a B budget in corporate. And I'm looking at everything that I'm doing in corporate, and I'm looking at my personal finances like something don't quite add up. Like, this isn't making sense because
Yeah.
obviously I can do this work. Obviously I know how to manage finances. I'm doing it at at the highest levels, but in my own life things weren't quite making sense. And so I went on this journey to just transform my own finances because I wanted to be in a better place financially. And so what I realized is that I had to work on me. I did not understand the connection
Mm-hmm.
between trauma, hurt, pain, and things that we have gone through in life and how it impacts how we show up in terms of our finances. Like, I had to go back to this 12-year-old girl who was hurt for being teased for wearing non-name brand shoes, and go back and really address that place and understand that my financial trauma started there, to begin to heal those places, to be able to go on a journey to create lasting financial change that actually stuck. Because sometimes we can go out, we're like, okay, you know what, let me go out, create a budget, let me create this debt repayment plan, let me create this spending plan. But if you don't address your hurt, if you don't address your trauma, then it's not something that you're going to be able to stick to. So I had to go from it twofold: addressing my trauma and also getting structure related to how I manage money, which began to really take me on this mindset
Mm-hmm.
journey and understanding how mindset affects finances. So then once I became a single mom, I realized that here I am teaching finances, teaching workshops, teaching trainings, all of this stuff financially, but yet as a single mom, again, it was like some ain't quite adding up. Like I'm helping all these other people get financially free. I'm helping all of these other people transform their finances. But why do my finances now look the way they are? And I'm supposed to be the expert, right? It didn't make sense, and it caused a lot of shame. It caused a lot of hurt because I started to begin to feel unqualified to be in the purpose that I was in. And so what happened is that the Lord took me on this other journey again to be able to heal some of the trauma that I felt as a single mom, some of the stereotypes that I was carrying from the world about what it meant to be a single mom and who single moms were and what it meant to be, to have children as a single mom and the impact of single motherhood on them. And so again, I had to go on that healing journey as well to be able to adjust my mindset again. And from there, the Lord was saying, okay, if you are the expert, right? If you're the one teaching and training people about personal finances, and this is your experience as a single mom, then I want you to change focus to not just teach single women about what it means to manage their money, but to teach single moms because you understand what the process is. You understand the emotions connected to finances. And so from there, that's what I started to do. But funny story is that sometimes we can be walking in purpose, but if we have not done the healing work, we think that we're walking in error and we're walking in a place that we should not walk because it hurts. And that is where I was at. I was really bumping up against the unhealed parts of me in purpose. And I thought that I made a mistake. I thought that that was not where God had called me because of the fact that it was causing me so much pain. And what that really was a
Mm.
chance for me to take a step back to say, well, what areas do I need to heal more? And it was not immediate. I ended up shutting my business down for 3 years because I just was running from what it was that God was calling me to do because it was so painful. And what I ended up doing was in that time engaging in therapy, life coaching to really get to a place where I was healed and I could actually walk in healing. Because when I was doing this single motherhood empowerment and financial empowerment before, it was from a place of almost rebellion. It was just like, yeah, this is who you think we are. Yeah, society, we're not who you think we are. We're going to be this. Yeah, man who left, you thought that you were going to break me. But I'm still standing. See, right? This is where it was coming from. A place of, it was this place of like, you can't stop me, like just anger, right? And I was trying to empower people from a place of anger, from a place of resentment, from a place of hurt. And it doesn't last if that's where it's coming from. So I thought God made a mistake. I thought that I heard him wrong when he said, hey, you're going to empower single moms. I'm like, I can't do this. And what I realized is that once I began
Mm-hmm.
to heal more, I realized that there's a difference between being ready to walk and having a glimpse of where you're supposed to go versus where it is that, where you're going when you're ready. And once I took that time off to be able to heal and get to that point where I was ready to embrace the mission, ready to embrace the call, that's when it began to feel good. That's when I began to not run from the calling. That's when I began to become more transparent and not hide because of shame, hide because of inadequacy, hide because of insecurity, hide because I thought that I was unqualified. I realized that the things that I thought made me unqualified for the journey were the very things that made me relatable and more than qualified for the work that God has called me to do. And so now I'm at this place where I'm able.
Listen, I was just going to say there is so much to unpack in all that you've said already. And as you were just saying that last part, what popped in my head was hiding from your healing. And then it just kept popping in. Like the more that you finished that statement, I just kept hearing hiding from your healing, hiding from your healing. And so I want to take us back just a moment, because you mentioned trauma. And a lot of times it's important, especially as leaders, that we understand how our past trauma affects our behaviors and affects our ability to lead in one way or another. Because just because we're leaders doesn't mean that we're leading effectively and actually making the impact that we're purposed to make. So it's important that we do the inner work, that we do the deep work, that we do the healing work, so that we can be the most impactful leader that we are able to be and called to be. So you mentioned trauma around the age of 12. Tell us a little bit more about that and how that impacted your identity, or how it maybe caused you to start this pattern of hiding and you didn't even recognize it.
It's funny that you said that. It's because what I'm realizing in the healing journey, one moment can actually cause multiple points of trauma and trauma responses. And I did not understand that. And so as I was working on healing financially, I identified that place as saying, you know what? I felt that I needed to fit in. Because when I was teased for wearing non-name brand shoes, I remember, so we used to shop at Payless when I was a kid. That's where we bought all of our shoes and everything. And so I remember vividly, like all these years later, being so excited to pick out my own shoes. Because like your parents pick out your clothes and your shoes for a little while. And then when you finally get to be the one to be like, no, this is what I like. This is what I want to wear. I was so excited. And so I wanted to put my shoes in the box and wear those shoes out. And I remember wearing them out the store after we paid for them. I was just like, yeah, don't put them in the bag. Hand them to me because I'm about to switch these shoes out. And I wore them out and I was so proud. Like I could not wait to get to summer camp. I cannot wait to get to summer camp because this was in the summer. And I'm like, I want to wear it. And I'm just going to be so excited to share my new shoes with the world. And so just as a 12-year-old, right? Just excited. And honestly, that excitement turned to ridicule, shame, hiding, because someone in that room looked at me and said, ew, you're wearing buddies, pointing at me. You're wearing buddies. And everyone stopped what they said, turned around. I was like, ha, ha, and started laughing at me. So I was excited because this is what I picked out. This is what I loved. And instead of anybody else feeling excitement for me, being able to celebrate with me, it turned into mocking, teasing, and ridicule. And for me, at that moment, that 12-year-old me said, I can't trust the things that I like anymore. I can't. Because the thing that I loved became a thing of pain for me. And so not only did it put me on this journey of fitting in, so the biggest reason why I ended up going into debt, I racked up about $15,000 in credit card debt. As soon as I turned 18, old enough to get my own credit card, I got a credit card. And I charged it up. I got very good at paying down that credit card, but I could not keep it off because I would look around and be like, well, what is everyone else doing? What does everyone else look like? I have to buy that. I have to do those things. I have to fit in. In a sense, when my therapist helped me understand this, I became invisible because I did not want to stand out anymore because I thought that standing out would cause pain. And so I became who everyone thought that I should be. And I lost myself. I had no idea who I was. I did not know what I like to eat without somebody telling me. I did not know what I like to wear without somebody telling me. It got to a point which I did not realize it got to this point until recently. It got to a point where I did not even trust my own thoughts, opinions, because my thoughts and opinions and the things that mattered to me in terms of those shoes became the very things that caused me pain. So in a sense, I also silenced my voice as well. And so I lost my whole identity because of that moment. And I had to go back and rediscover who I was as a person from the ground up. I had to discover the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like. I had to learn what I like to do. I literally had to date myself to figure out who I was as a person because I had lost all of that room when I was 12 years old and being mocked for my shoes.
Looking for amazing products to help boost your first class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first class life because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com. That is so wild and it's crazy. I know more aspects of your story than the viewers out there. And so I could see how that same thing could pop up in different situations. For example, I know you've experienced workplace bullying. So to have that trauma from being 12 still be present as an adult. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so workplace bullying, it's interesting how so many things become connected until you break a pattern, right? Because a lot of people don't know that until you change and until you grow, you invite more of the same, but it just is packaged differently in your life. And so again, I was super excited, finished grad school with my MBA in finance, and I was one of the people who ended up getting a job in their field, right? That they studied, right? Which was amazing. So I was super excited, right? Because in this job, I'm able to make like six figures. You know, people are like, I just want to make six figures, right? And that becomes like the golden rule, like your epitome for where your whole success is. And I was able to do that right out of grad school. And I remember the Lord saying, you're going to be here 3 to 5 years. And so for me, I stayed longer. Why? Because of the money. I was able to do more than I ever imagined. I was able to buy so much stuff. I was able to do all of this stuff, but here's where the pain started to bump up against. Me buying all of this stuff, me going on these fancy vacations, me being able to eat at these fancy restaurants like all the time, going to endless happy hours, living that Sex in the City type lifestyle, it was causing me to go broke. So I'm making all of this money, but yet 5 days or so, a week before I was scheduled to get paid again, money gone. Like had no money left in the account, had nothing to show for it because I was again doing those things trying to fit in to become invisible so I didn't stand out too much because I did not want to be teased. And so it's interesting how I'm like trying to be bold, trying to stand in my power because in grad school, they said, you're going to get out there and make a difference. You're going to be somebody, right? And so I'm identifying problems and trying to fix them, raising my hand to be selected for different assignments, taking on more and more responsibility just because that's how I am. You know, if I see something, I'm going to try and fix it. I'm like a fixer type person. And so, but the thing is that same initiative, that same boldness, right? Me walking in my power became the thing that invited criticism, ridicule, and bullying. And so here I am trying to do the right thing. You know how if you work in corporate, they're like, if you see a problem, own it and fix it. That became the thing that caused people to not like me. That became the thing that caused people to be like, oh, you're shining too brightly. You need to tone it down a little bit. You're speaking up too much. You're challenging authority too much. You know, you get more you get more bees with honey instead of vinegar. And I'm like, all I'm doing is raising my hand to speak up, to ask and take initiative to see how I can be a part of the solution. That's it. And I'm being told that it's too much. And so what happened? I started to shut up. I started to be silent because that same initiative, the same joy, the same enthusiasm that I was encouraged to approach my job with became that thing that became bullying. And then it got to the point where at 7:00 on a Sunday evening, I knew exactly what time it was by the way my body responded. 7 p.m. on Sunday at the thought of having to go to work in the morning. Panic attack. On my way to work, I had a 45-minute commute. I saw one particular road sign. As soon as I saw it each and every day like clockwork, break down in full tears on my way to work in a full anxiety attack at the thought of having to go to work. I remember someone told me, she said, when you pull up, because I would be in tears in the parking lot, getting before I got out the car, and someone just like, just look in the mirror, like an actress who pumps herself up before she has to get on stage. Just say, I can do this. I can do this. Just like psych yourself up to go in there. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to psych myself up to go into work. It shouldn't be this terrible. And I would go into the bathrooms at times crying in the bathroom just because of what I was going through. I remember staff meetings were the worst because I did not know how I was going to be treated, because there was a staff meeting. There was one particular staff meeting where the executive director of the department threw paper at me in the middle of the meeting. There were times where I would come to the bathroom and I saw one of the directors in the department, and I was a senior financial analyst at the time. One of the directors, so a couple of levels above where I'm at, I saw him coming out of my cubicle. I'm like, why were you in my cubicle going through my stuff? And so as a finance business partner, I'm supposed to be in all the meetings related to the decisions to be able to assess the financial impact of it. And so the person behind me was really the gatekeeper of all the meetings. And so people would have meetings at his desk, and I would hear discussions about meetings that I'm supposed to be in. And I started to just pull up a chair, because that's what they said, pull up a chair. Pull up a chair. And then what he started to do was not take meetings or phone calls from his desk. He would go into a meeting room across the building, so I wouldn't even know where he was to be able to find him. And then
It's like, how threatened do you have to be? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to butt in, but how threatened do you have to be? That's your job, and you're supposed to be at those meetings, but yet there is somebody that is like, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure she's not at those meetings. But Lord, and then the fact that they threw paper at you, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one, because the hood in me may have came out that day, okay? Oh, Jesus, go ahead.
And then he had the nerve to call my boss and say, Aisha's not showing up to the meetings. Where is she? And I'm like, well, you're hiding in a conference room across the building where I can't even find you. And you have the audacity to lie on me like this. Literally, it got to the point where HR was like, we need to check your swipes to make sure you're coming into work. They started lying and said that I was not going into work. It was
Wow.
It was crazy. So I ended up getting investigated by HR for because they thought that I was just collecting a paycheck and not showing up to work. It was insane.
Wow. So how did you work through that moment? Because, woo, child, I can see why you were crying on the way to work every day.
It's interesting because I really stand on Romans 8:28. Literally, all things work together for the good of those who call him and are called according to his purpose, right? And at that time, I was more of a baby believer than I am now. But really being able to just stand on that and really stand on the promises of God. And I didn't understand what all of that meant. But it's interesting because God gave me this idea. Because remember, at this time, I'm still going through my own transformation to change how I manage my finances. And so God says, start a blog. And I was like, okay. He was just just share what you're learning in your own journey. So that's what I started to do. I just started to share what I was learning in my own journey. Personal finances, just started writing about it. And it's so funny because I'm like, no one reads this thing. And so I stopped. I was like, who actually reads this? This is weird. Why am I doing this? And so I stopped posting. And I started to get phone calls, emails, and text messages. I haven't seen a blog post from you lately. I haven't seen it. I was like, wait, people read this? Read what I write? They're like, yeah, we love it. And it's really helping us to manage our money better. And I'm like, this is interesting. And so that's what I started to do. And it's funny how that same situation that caused so much pain became a catalyst for me to move into purpose. Because get this, there were only a couple of people in that department, just a couple, maybe 2 or 3, that was it, in a giant department who treated me with kindness and respect. And one of them happened to be a director as well. And she was so kind to me and just so amazing to me. And so one day I saw her and she was just dressed up, just really dressed beautifully. And I stopped her and I said, hey, she walked past my desk. I'm like, oh, by the way, you look beautiful today. And she said, really? Thank you. And I said, yeah. And she said, oh, I have to go to an event today, but I actually can't go. I just realized I can't go. Do you want to go in my place? And she is in the same staff meeting, right? That I hated. She passes me a note and said, can you go in my place? Oh, this is why I'm dressed up. I can't go to this event. And I said, sure. And so I go to this event, and it's a Black History Month event, and Lisa Nichols is the keynote speaker. And so I'm listening to Lisa Nichols. I did not know who Lisa Nichols was at this point. And I hear her speak, and I was just so amazed listening to everything that she had overcome and that place of pain where she was at when she moved into purpose. And all I know is that if she was able to birth purpose out of pain, then there was hope for me. And I was just like, you know what? And you can make money ethically, helping other people to move into purpose and help them to heal. And I'm like, wow. And I started to see a vision for what my little blog could be. And I was so impressed that when she talked about her conference in San Diego, I'm like, I have to be there. I don't know why, but I have to be there. And, you know, I'm in Detroit, right? So, and I did not know anybody else who was going to that conference, but I'm like, I had to be there. And I tried to find some of my friends who would go with me because I'm thinking about, because again, you know, trying to fix out my money. Like, I want to be able to split this cost of this hotel. I'm like, I got to fly to hotel. I be responsible for this hotel room too. This is about to get expensive. And then I mentioned I'm trying to dig myself out of debt and change my life. But no one would come with me. And, you know, I thought about it. I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't go. But I'm like, no, I don't care if no one wants to go with me. All I know is that I need to be in this room. That's all I know. So decided to go to San Diego all by myself. Did not know who was going. And the funny thing is a couple of days before I was scheduled to leave, I realized that there were other people from my job who were going. And so they said, let's meet up while we're there. And so I ended up meeting friends, right? We all worked in the same place, no idea who each other were. And I made friends in there. And so there was a moment where I realized I don't have to play small. I don't have to take it. I can really walk in purpose. And from that event, I ended up going to another event and just an idea for a free opt-in. I just had 10 tips to help people to manage their money differently. Became a book. And that book, and it was funny, in that same staff meeting that I hated, I had a notebook, and all of a sudden God just started downloading everything. So I'm literally writing a book. It looked like I was really attentive in that meeting, and I was taking good notes. But I was in a book, in this notebook, and I thought I was done. Handwritten book and a notebook, right? I just wrote a book. I just wrote a book. And somebody said it just sat there for months. And somebody said, well, did you type it up? I was like, no. I wrote a book though. She was like, it's outside of your notebook. No, but I'm an author, right? And so those same,
Sounds to me like you were still
right, I
hiding.
was. And
Mm-hmm.
those same people who, remember I said I met friends. Those are the same people who said, you know what? It needs to be published. It needs to be out in the world. And so that book actually turned into my exit strategy, because when I wrote the book, it ended up being the #1 Amazon bestseller in its category. It ended up landing speaking engagements. I was featured in Essence Magazine, Jet Magazine, Black Enterprise, so many different places from a place of pain. I literally started my blog and began teaching people about finances because I was trying to run from the pain and heal the pain from being teased when I was 12. And then it turned into me wanting to do something to prove I was qualified, because my job spent so much time trying to break me down and convince me that I was unqualified, that I was undeserving of being in the role that I was in, that I started to believe them. And I started this business, and I leaned into this blog. I leaned into this book just because I wanted to feel qualified. I wanted to feel good enough. I wanted to feel that I mattered. And I was
Mm-hmm.
worth it, that I had worth and value. Because so many messages, even from that moment that I was 12, had been teaching me that I didn't. And so that process became a process of healing for me.
I think that's important to point out, just identifying the purpose in your pain, because it's not something that is just going to fall in your lap. It's not going to show up in your mailbox while you sit and do nothing. You have to be a willing and active participant to identify, all right, what is the purpose? What is the reason that I'm going through the things that I'm going through? Is there a lesson that needs to be learned? Is there a trauma that needs to be healed? But just being willing to explore that area and open to what it may be leading to. So I think that is very, very important to point out to the first class family that is tuned in right now. Just being willing to identify the purpose in your pain, because like I said, nobody's just going to hand it to you on a silver platter. And so as you were talking, it was just funny hearing you say, well, it's in this book, but it wasn't typed up and it wasn't sent out. And then once you actually did the work and took action towards publishing, then it opened up all these other doors, which I think is another factor to point out to the first class family, is that, sometimes things don't show up, or the things that we're praying for doesn't happen because we haven't taken action, whether big or small. We have to move. We have to do something. We can't progress in either direction without first taking a step in a direction. So listen, there is still so much and so many different things that we can talk about. Like I told y'all, she was amazing, as y'all can see. And we're just scratching the surface of all the gems that I know that Miss Aisha has for us, okay? So before we hop back into the discussion, I want us to play a little game that I call First Class Favorites, okay? So let me grab my phone here, get my stopwatch out. And this is a really easy game. All you have to do is fill in the blank. I'm going to ask you what's your favorite, and you fill in the blank, okay? The catch is you have to do it in 10 seconds or less. All right?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. That's what makes it challenging on our brains. As smart as they are, they like to give us some trick and tomfoolery sometimes. So now listen, for everybody that's tuned in right now, you can feel free to make this a game at home. So for every buzzer that she misses, you have to do a pull-up or run a lap, or you gotta write a page in your book that you've been holding off, or you maybe take a shot for my wild listeners out there. Whatever is your preference, okay? So we'll see how she does. We'll start you off with something easy. All right. Okay. What is your favorite season? Go.
You said what's my favorite what?
Season.
Oh,
of the year.
Fall.
Technically, you missed that one. Why do you like fall? Yeah, so that's one buzzer she missed.
I like fall because of the apple orchards, the pumpkin patches, apple cider, leaves changing, and being able to wear sweaters and riding boots.
Okay, here's an easy one. What's your favorite color and why?
Purple.
Go.
Purple because it's royalty and it's just beautiful.
Yes! All right, let's restart the clock. What is your favorite book, title, and author?
Wuthering Heights by, is it Emily Bronte or Charlotte Bronte? I forget the author. And I love the full story of redemption. And it's kind of sad, but it has a beautiful redemptive story at the end.
Nice. Okay. What's your favorite song? Go.
Oh my, I really don't have a favorite song. I don't. I love Mariah Carey. Oh, Circles by Mariah Carey.
Circles by Mariah Carey. Now, you got an artist out by the buzzer, but you didn't get a song out by the buzzer. So we got two. Y'all got two. Y'all need to write at least 2 pages of your book.
I'm trying, ladies. I'm trying.
What is your favorite movie? Go.
Titanic. The love story just gets me every time. I know that, but
Oh, Titanic. Okay. What is your favorite place to travel specifically? Go.
Costa Rica. I've
Ooh,
only
nice. When I think of Costa Rica, I think you
I've
said
only been
it's
there
what?
once, but it was my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I think of it, I think of very tropical and very hot and humid and a lot of bugs. Is that right or
It
no?
is, but I also love hot weather, and I think it's relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
The whole pure vida, like pure life thing, just really resonates with me. It's like calm because I can be very type A and like really just insane with it, perfectionisty, and so just the ability to just think that there's a different way of living really just intrigues me.
Nice, nice. So I do want to go to Costa Rica. I have not been yet, and I like warm weather as well. But I feel like I need extra bug spray when I
Heck
go
yeah,
to Costa
but it's
Rica.
beautiful.
What is your favorite? What is your favorite activity to do to relax?
Garden.
Go. Oh, garden. Listen, you can keep that green thumb. This is why it's important that you live life on your own terms because you see our lovely Aisha here likes the garden. That relaxes her. Me, on the other hand, I can be outside, but I'm not a nature person. Oh, I did 2 hours of yard work in my yard just 2 days ago, and I about died on the way back in. I was like, mm-mm. Let me make sure I call somebody the next time because what I'm not going to do is be putting down this mulch and this soil and whoo, yeah. Well, feel free to come to my house. I got lots of yard that you can play in all you want. Okay. One more. Let's see. What's a good one? What's your favorite quote? Go.
Oh, oh, I'm sorry, ladies. What's my favorite quote? Okay, I'm gonna go with Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good who love Him and are called according to His purpose.
Oh, okay. You got the Romans 8:28 out before the buzzer, so we won't count that one. Thank you for playing First Class Favorites. And listen, I need for everybody to make sure that you are a member of the private Patreon community for the First Class Live Show because you will actually have access to a uniquely, specially curated list of first class favorite things. All right. You know, Oprah has her favorite things. We got our first class favorite things. Okay. So you'll be able to see our reading list, our travel list, our self-care relaxing activity list, and our musical playlist. So curated by all the guests of First Class Live Show. So thank you for contributing, Aisha. You didn't even
You're
know.
welcome, ladies, and you will thank me later when you read Wuthering Heights. You might be like, I really don't understand why she's obsessed with this book, but I am. Like, when a funny story. I wrote about this book so much when I was in high school. My English teacher actually said, okay, you're no longer allowed to write every essay tying it back to Wuthering Heights. Like, you have to pick a book.
Are you loving the First Class Live Show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/first class life. Again, that's patreon.com/first class life. Listen, all right. So hopping back into this discussion, there's a question that I wanted to ask you. As you started to move through your life, and you had these patterns of hiding and trying to fit in so that you wouldn't cause yourself any pain. And when did you begin to recognize your behaviors? When did you begin to identify that you were in fact hiding?
That is a very loaded question because I think that it happened in stages for me. And I didn't initially recognize it as a pattern of hiding until I went to therapy and began to really uncover a lot of different things. But I think that one of the first places was when I just was so at a point where I was so stressed out about my finances, because it got to the point where I was so good at knowing how much how much limit I had left on my credit card. But I was always afraid that I might have miscalculated. Because, I have an econ background, MBA in finance, so I'm great at math. And so, but I was afraid that I might have miscalculated and that I would make a mistake. And so my credit card would get denied. So here I am going out to dinner, happy hour and lunch, all this stuff. And whenever I would hand my card over, I would be like, just laughing at people, like laughing with people, trying to continue on the conversation without people realizing that in the back of my head. I just don't want them to be like, ma'am, your card is declined, right? I just was avoiding that. And I just got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. I was just like, this is just too stressful. So I have to do something different. And somehow I knew at the time, almost intuitively, that I had to rediscover me in the process. And so I really pulled myself at the time. I was like heavy in the club scene and everything like that. And I pull myself away to be able to just focus on me. And I would do things that really allowed me to nerd out, things like that. Because I just had such a nerdy side to me that I hid, right? I didn't really want people to know that, I love Victorian fiction, from like the Victorian British fiction. And, I studied abroad at Oxford. And when I was in England, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm at Oxford, the place, like, people are going to be studying Shakespeare here. Yes. Like all of this stuff. Like, I was hiding about the things that I love and the things that mattered to me. And I did those things. I read books, like lots of them. And I just really just nerded out on a lot of things. And when I got out of that place, I realized, okay, I feel like more like me again. I could be me. And I began to make different decisions with respect to money, with respect to what I decided to do. I began to feel empowered to say no if I didn't feel like going to a certain place. And to be honest, this is so crazy to me that this experience, this coming out of hiding and becoming more authentic, actually saved my life at one point. And when I say this, I mean it like literally, not just figuratively, because I realized at the club scene that just wasn't me. That wasn't who I am. And I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And so a good friend of mine had invited me to the club one day. And I was just like, yeah, no, this isn't what I do anymore. And so he was like, come on, you're just like, you gotta come. This is me. And I'm like, I know. And I love you. Like, you're like a brother to me. But this isn't the life that I'm leading anymore. And it was so crazy because we were so close. Like, one of my best friends, still is one of my best friends. And he ended up getting shot that day outside the club. And I would have been with him, but I wasn't, because I had enough. I knew more about who I am and what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be, that it gave me the power to say no to somebody who mattered so much to me and say, we can hang out, which we do outside of the club. But I'm sorry, I'm not going with you today. And I was not there when he got shot. And so I ended up getting a call at about 2 a.m. that morning, like, so-and-so's been shot. And I remember rushing to the hospital, and my friend made a full recovery and everything. But that was a moment that it taught me to be able to listen to that intuition, because that intuition is God talking to you. And you never know the things that you're going to be kept from because of your no, because of your obedience. But then later on, once I became a single mom, I just realized that I would start and stop. Like, I had this business. At this point, I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I'm starting, stopping, almost like playing double dutch. And so I would get to the point where things would ramp up in my business. I'm getting more exposure. Then all of a sudden I'm like, freer, and then shut down. And it was always a reason. It always sounded good to me, why I needed to stop, why I needed to pull back. Oh, I can't do this because if I go too far, right? If I get featured too much, if I do too many speaking engagements, then I won't see my kids because that's what success looks like to me. Because my mom was successful in her career, but we didn't see her. She was always at work. And so for me, I would pull back at the edge of success because I was afraid of what that meant. I didn't understand that I could rewrite the narrative of success. To me, success meant you can't see your kids. And I didn't want to repeat that pattern. But what I realized later through therapy was that was also a trauma response because of fear. Because my kid's dad, when I was pregnant, he told me that I would fail at everything that I would do. Nothing that I would ever touch would succeed. And all I would ever do is hurt people, even if I didn't want to. And so for me, that narrative became playing in my mind over and over and over again. And when I would sign a client, I would be like, I can't do this. Like, this person wants to work with me, but I have to save this person from me because he said that even if I wanted to help people, I would hurt them because he was trying to force me to have an abortion. And because I said no, that was me hurting him because I said no to have an abortion. And so to me, I thought that even if I have good intentions, they would hurt people. So I stopped working with clients. I shut down my coaching. I would not work with clients out of fear that I would hurt them. And eventually it got to this point where between this narrative of what success meant in terms of growing up, I'm like, I don't want to. He told me I would fail as a mom. He told me I would fail as an entrepreneur. And I would on one thing for sure, I would refuse to fail my kids. And so that meant that I pulled back because I was just like, I'm just not going to run a business. Praise God, I was in a financial position to take 3 years off. But in that, eventually the money runs out. If you're not working, it doesn't matter how much you have in the bank. Eventually the money runs out. And when the money ran out, that was when I finally had to have a come to Jesus moment about all the messages that I had in my head, the definition of success, whose voice was the loudest in my mind, who was I believing, who was I for real, where was my identity, and what is it that I'm supposed to do. It took me running out of money, and I had, like I said, I lasted 3 years. But it's financial literacy, y'all. That's what happens when you begin to heal your finances, right? You had choices. And so I exercised that option to hide. But eventually the money ran out. And when the money ran out, I had to come face to face with that. But it wasn't until I went through this deep period of shame and unworthiness, because now I'm restarting my financial literacy business. My money's out. My credit's shot. And I'm talking to people about managing money. And it was just like, I was just like, houseway. And I felt like a liar. I felt like a hypocrite. And I felt so unqualified. And so, and I would gear up and I start talking about money. I would start talking about single mom empowerment stuff. And I'm like, I can't do this. It's too broken. Too much time has passed. I can't do this. And this is where you need therapy, life coaching, and a good support network around you. Because when somebody asks me such simple questions like, wait, what's your background again? Where did you go to school? I was like, I went to Duke University. I got a public policy degree, an economics degree, a chem minor. Well, where'd you go to grad school? Oh, University of Michigan. Well, what degrees do you have? I have an MBA in finance and master's in health service administration. Oh, so you're smart, right? Yeah. Why do you say that? I just want to see if you knew that. Okay, so where'd you work again? Oh, I did this. I did corporate finance. And what did you do there? Oh, mergers and acquisitions, new business development, restructuring deals, restructured $100 million, a department that was losing $100 million. I was the one who created the strategy, built a team, and was implemented, and they went from losing $100 million a year to $30 million in profit. Oh, wait, so you're qualified, right? Yeah. Like, okay. So where were you featured again? Oh, Essence, Black Enterprise, Chat, all these places. Oh, wait, so you've been recognized for the transformation that you provide. Yeah. Oh, so have you taught financial literacy workshops? Oh, yeah, I taught at Duke, or University of Michigan, Google, all these. Oh, wait, so other people have paid you to come in, teach their people. So how are you not qualified? And I said, I don't know. They said, did you somehow, in the trauma and everything that you went through, they were like, yeah, life hit you. Life hit you hard. It knocked the wind
Mhm.
out of you.
Yeah.
But it is up to you to get back up again. And because life hit you, it didn't make you unqualified. It did not take away your experience. It did not take away your knowledge. It did not take away your expertise. Life hit you, but it is up to you to decide what you do when life hits you. You can either lay down and die and give up, or you can get back up again with the foundation that you have and build it again. It's up to you. You can stay there in your pity party, or you can get back up again. And I was like, ouch, that hurt, but I'm going to get back up again for 5,000, Alex. And
Yes, yes. Share with us 3 tips on how you got back up again, how you overcome, because there's somebody that's listening right now and they're feeling the same and they're hearing you and they're like, yeah, okay, Aisha, yeah, I did this, I did that. Or, for some people, maybe they're feeling like they don't have any of those things, but it was a journey, as you've mentioned, this whole entire time. So what are 3 tips that you can share with how to get back up again and keep going and start to not hide anymore and really start to walk in your purpose?
so, it's so funny. So the first thing I would say is you have to find something you love about yourself. You have to be able to understand who you are. When I say understand who you are, one of the things that my life coach had me do, she said, write out a list of accomplishments. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be lengthy. And what she said is you can't just stay in the past either. Because one of the things that I was doing with my list of accomplishments is I was just listing all of these things that I did, like in high school. And when I and she was just like, okay, no, you have to come out the past and find something that you can hang your hat on now for the person that you are now, because otherwise you're going to stay stuck in the past, unable to move forward, because you're going to think that your life is over and your best days were behind you. And so I had to start encouraging
Mhm.
myself in the things that I was doing now. And yes, I did have to build up my resume, but honestly, my life coach did not let me live there. She was just like, yeah, okay, I see you with your resume, but what's current? And I had to do things like, I'm a great mom. I have a good heart. I'm an excellent gardener. Some of these things that seem like they have nothing to do with anything. I had to start to find things that I loved about myself now, things that I was proud of myself about now. And then one of the other things, number 2, that I ended up doing is I wrote down all the lies that I was telling myself. Everything negative was a lie. Automatically was straight lie, lie. So I wrote down all the negatives as lies that I was telling myself. And then I wrote a positive. I wrote the truth. When I said that I was unqualified, I said, oh, who told me that? This is my educational background. This is my work background. This is the transformation I've been able to do in other people's lives. And the other thing that I did not want to admit that my therapist and my life coach helped me to realize is that the thing that I counted myself out as unqualified was the very thing that made me unqualified. Because I realized that because of my education, because of my background, that unconsciously it was creating a division between, almost not like a division, but almost like a hidden barrier between me and the people that I was helping. Because people would look at me and say, oh, she went to Michigan, she has an MBA in finances. I don't have that. So I can't change my finances the way she did because she has the education and I don't. And so what she said and what I had to realize is the bottom was a great equalizer. It was a great equalizer because at that point, people understood that I didn't just have this head knowledge of finances. I had the heart knowledge and I had the empathy and the compassion to know where they are. And so they didn't have to hide with me. I was talking to a lady just yesterday, and one of the things that she told me, she said, I trust you with my financial journey. I know that you're the right person because you have empathy. You get me. She said, I feel comfortable talking to you about my shame because she's a high power woman. And she said that her finances were her last frontier of shame in her life. And she said, because of your story, I know you get me and I can trust you with my shame. And that wasn't what I had before. People understood that I was qualified, but could they trust me with their shame? And that's what I began to rewrite. The thing that I thought made me unqualified was actually the thing that made me very qualified. And so I had to restructure the narrative, right? And the last thing was I had to put my identity in the right place. Because before, my self-worth was in my finances. My self-worth was in how much money I had in the bank. My self-worth was in my investment portfolio. That was what my self-worth was in. My self-worth was in my closet and how many clothes that I had in my closet. My self-worth was in being able to be in a position to do like I saw in Sex and the City, where Carrie filled up the fitting room and said, "I'll take it all." Like that was what was in. It was in the things that I could do with the money, and the things that I could do with the money became who I was as a person. And so I had to separate myself from my finances to be able to truly understand that my self-worth was not determined by my net worth. My self-worth was in who God created me to be. My self-worth and my identity wasn't in people's opinions of who I am or who I should be. My self-worth and my identity was through who God created me to be. And that was that shift that I had to make, because I spent so many years people pleasing, blending in, hiding, and being whoever somebody thought I should be. Honestly, my public policy major, somebody said, "Oh, I think you'd be good at public policy. You should major in that." I was like, "Oh, really? Okay, I'll major in that." And it turned out I was actually really good in it, and I happen to love it. But she was right. But I picked it for the wrong reason. You can do the right thing for the wrong reason. Possible.
Right.
And so it was just doing those three things: getting my identity and understanding my identity in God, rewriting the negatives and turning it into, like, taking the lies and turning it into the truth, right? Rewriting the truth. And then the other, I forgot what I said first. What did I say first? Oh,
That just means we have to go
yeah.
back and listen to the replay. That's all. That's all. Lots of nuggets. So a replay will be beneficial. No, I just love that. And, really understanding who you are, who God called you to be, and not living up to those expectations of other people, because too many times we do that, especially as leaders. It's important that we are aware when we are doing that, because that can start to take us off path. That can knock us off kilter, and lead us in directions that we were never meant to be walking in the first place. Every now and then you have those happy accidents where it was like, oh, wait, I was supposed to be on this path. But, usually it leads us in a different direction than where we should be. So I have one more question for you. Do you want to be surrounded by other high-achieving women who are working on their goals just like you? Are you looking for your circle that's passionate about their own growth yet still wants to see you shine? Do you desire to be supported through collaborations and connections instead of competition? Then Cowork and Chill is your place to be. Cowork and Chill is a hybrid of virtual co-working and virtual networking. It's a community of women who are striving to build living legacies. This is the space to create meaningful relationships with other equally yoked women, where you're being poured into just as much as you pour out. So if you're looking for your crew for supportive accountability, then sign up today at coworkandchill.com. That's COWORKANDCHILL, coworkandchill.com. And that is about First Class Life. So if you are new to the First Class Life show, then I need you to understand that First Class Life is actually an acronym Okay. It is not some cutesy phrase, but it stands for all of the characteristics and skills that you want to embody into your lifestyle as much as possible so that you can create a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. And if you want to know what that acronym stands for, then you have two options. You can either go listen to episode 1, all the way very back to the beginning of the First Class Live show, where I explain each of the factors in detail, or you can go to firstclasslifeshop.com and purchase the book First Class Life. You see it right there behind me with the key on it. Firstclasslifeshop.com. Get the book, explains it with bonus resources and all the good things. But in the meantime, Miss Aisha, lovely, lovely Aisha, tell us, which key factor do you feel that you identify with most?
I would say reflective. Because
Tell us why. Tell us why.
Because I think that there's so many different stages of my life where I was able to sit back and reflect on what it is that I was doing, what it is that I was thinking. Matter of fact, in college, I actually had a course where part of what we were doing, we had to reflect on why we believed what we believed, why we thought what we thought. And I remember I would lead service projects on behalf of the local alumni association. And after the service project, we would have a chance to reflect. And so I was actually chosen because I was really good at the reflection questions and pull things out so people can create deeper meaning in their experiences. And so I think that that has been a thing that really served me, because I wasn't afraid to challenge my beliefs. I wasn't afraid to challenge my thoughts. I wasn't afraid to challenge like where I am right now, because I knew that if I did it, if I didn't just take life the way it was given to me or handed to me, then I would have the ability to have something different. And that took me exposing my feelings. It took me exposing my beliefs to be able to create something different and be able to like let the love and light of God just shine on me, expose the hidden and dark places, the painful places, so I could turn that pain into purpose. Because if I sat there in the pain, I would not have been able to move forward. And so just so many of those things, I just realized as I was talking, like reflection kept coming up, rewriting the narrative. And you can't do that without being reflective.
I love it. I love it. Listen, y'all, please make sure you go back and rerun this episode so you can catch all the gems. Have your notes ready, okay? Your pen and paper. So I need you to tell everyone like what products, what services you have. How can people work with you? Just let us know how you serve the world.
Yeah. So what I do is I work with single moms to grow their faith, walk in purpose, and own their finances. And so if you are interested in doing any one of those threes, or including turning your idea into income, then hit me up, right? I'm literally on just about all the social channels. I'm on Instagram at effing phenomenal. F is in family, N is in Nancy, and the word phenomenal. Effingphenomenal.com is my blog. A lot of my programs are listed at myideatoincome.com. And you can just always shoot me a DM, shoot me a message. I have a Facebook group called the Phenomenal Moms group on Facebook, where I just do lots of cool things and additional teaching there on Clubhouse, Phenomenal Moms Club on Clubhouse. But really, I encourage you to opt into the Single Mom Faith and Finance Toolkit. That is at fnphenomenal.com/toolkit. And I was trying to say where there at the same time. There, you would actually find tools like prayers for your children, a vision roadmap, as well as a financial checklist to help you to be able to understand the things that you need to do to build wealth. Because one of the things that, actually two of the biggest reasons why people don't walk in purpose is faith, believing that it's possible, and finances, making decisions based upon their current financial reality. And what I do is I will help you to not only grow your faith, but to also grow your finances in a way so you feel confident enough to walk boldly into purpose and who you are called to be. So yeah, you can always email me as well at hello@fnphenomenal.com. But just let's connect.
Yes, make sure you go get your toolkit, and don't worry, we'll have all that info right in the description in the show notes for you to check out. And I know you just shared some of your contact info, but let the folks know how they can reach out to you.
Yeah, you can hit me up on Instagram through the DMs. My DMs are open. If you head over to FN Phenomenal, as well as hello at fmphenomenal.com. Those are the two most direct ways to be able to connect with me.
Nice. Listen, y'all, I told you, always dropping the gems, because that's what we do on the First Class Life Show. We cover so much, and that's still hiding from your healing is still ringing out in my brain. So hopefully you are no longer making the choice to hide from your healing and hide from your purpose. But make sure that you subscribe to our Patreon community, where you can get some bonus footage from the beautiful Aisha. And I know that you can be doing anything in the world right now, but you are here with us, and we greatly, greatly appreciate your presence wherever you are tuned in from. And with that said, listen, go out there and create your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness, because you deserve it. Bye. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it.